Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. With me today, as always, is the man providing the patient perspective himself. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. David Pryor.
I feel like I have deja vu right now, Bryan.
I know. So, I don't know, maybe 10 episodes ago, we bought a little thing and we're doing the recordings of the podcast in the studio, which is awesome, except when Bryan forgets to hit record.
And now Dave has suggested that he take over the board responsibilities since Bryan has to run the podcast. I don't know if the rest of the doctors that are listening to this podcast have control issues, but certainly Dr. Bryan Laskin may have some of those issues.
Well, what I was forgetting is that Dave does not make mistakes. Bryan does. Dave would never not hit record. But to my credit, Dave,
yes,
the last one that you'll never has been lost to the ether
yes.
of forever that we started recording.
Yeah.
You was the one. How do we start it? What did you forget to do?
Take a sip of my Red Bull?
You weren't dancing during the music.
I didn't forget. It was the Corona. It really took me down.
Okay. What's a more grievous error? Me not hitting record or you not dancing?
Oh boy, that's a tough call.
It's you not dancing.
Okay, fine.
That's the answer.
All right.
That's the answer. So.
Jeez.
All right. Well, but now what we were talking about, and we'll talk about again right now, is the fact that other people are probably making mistakes right now at home, right? We're a lot of offices, most offices are shut down, and they're only seeing emergent care. So what are you doing with your downtime? You know, I think really when we're in a time of crisis like this, or whenever you have a major life event, which I would say this is right now, you really have two paths you can go down. You can either do work and get better to come out the other side of this seismic change as stronger, faster, better, whatever, smarter, or you can go the opposite direction. And right now, the number one thing that dentists are doing at home is watching Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, watching Netflix. And I don't know that they're watching the kind of stuff that makes you better on the other end of this, right? I like watching Netflix. I don't watch any more than I did before this. In fact, I watch less because right now I feel like, you know, during times of crisis, that's when leaders are born, when fortunes are made, when, you know, and right now we are just cranking because you're talking to people every day, multiple times a day about teledentistry and how to transform your practice. And what are you hearing from them? The dentists that you're talking to, are they more engaged, less engaged? Like,
I'm talking to a couple different modalities of dentist. One is I've got to get teledentistry in place right now or my world's going to end, right? So that's one type. But the other type is I have time to explore ways to create efficiencies that I did not have before. So they're taking that time to be able to come back from the COVID situation a much better, leaner, meaner practice. And that's when I'm talking to those dentists, I find them it really interesting in what they're trying to do and how they're trying to just make things better for themselves on the other side of this.
Yeah, I like the way you said that, and it makes me think of this Gary Cady, who's a great consultant that I've been doing some webinars with through this crisis. Every Tuesday we've been doing it with a great panel of people, and he had he went over an idea that I thought was great, which was during this time of crisis, are you reacting or responding? And that's kind of what even though the first group that you were talking about, who's like scrambling, I need this yesterday, or my, even though it's a positive movement that they're doing, they're reacting.
Yeah.
Versus responding. And I guess the third option, which is what we're talking about, is lethargy. Not,
Right.
is not doing anything,
Yeah.
sloth,
Yeah.
and relaxing. Right?
Yeah.
Respond, react, relax.
I feel that will become a theme song of yours.
Yeah. Well, it's like the other three R's. Isn't there like reduce, reuse, recycle? We're like respond, relax, and
React.
Yeah. So responding is kind of what we'd like to do, and the people who have the time and are researching what to do and doing it the right way, I think that's really what's going to have you on the other end of this crisis be stronger. And I think what's difficult right now is that, for most of us, and I know it's a global pandemic and it's horrible and people are sick, but I'm talking to most people. I know a couple people who have actually had died with COVID symptoms and stuff, and it's horrible, but most people don't, and I think that for most of us, this is certainly an economic and a psychological crisis, right? Yep. And so I don't know the economic piece is difficult, right? I mean, people are charging for teledentistry to try to keep their practices afloat. I think we don't at my office, so one thing is getting tons of questions as you are about billing for teledentistry, because now you can, which, we've been doing teledentistry for years and never billed for it. But now during COVID, you can, and I think you will be after this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just because you have to check on your states. So some states you can't. But just because you can bill doesn't mean you have to. So right. Just do what's right for your practice. Right. Yep. But I think that, for the people that haven't been directly affected, and if your finances are in order, then it comes kind of down to the psychological crisis. And I don't, I think it's a hard time to be like, okay, I'm going to use this time to get in the best shape of my life. Kudos to you if you can. I'm not there. Right. I'm like eating more and whatever. But however, what I do think is important is giving yourself a purpose, like something to work on. And if you make it your practice to come out on the other end of this much stronger, I think that's where my sort of thought is as a dentist, that this is the time to really evaluate every aspect of your practice and reorganize and come out of this responding in a positive way much stronger, because that will like on Saturday, I don't do anything around the house. I'm telling Dave, who probably knows this more than anybody, other than my wife. Right?
I was just going to say, Tessa's eyes are permanently locked in the back of her head now. But
on Saturday, I just felt like this. I was compelled to wash all my cars and clean the garage, because it was like mental therapy, because I had a purpose, right? Yep. That's the kind of thing that I think people should be doing with their offices. Like do the organizing, the cleaning, the looking into the, let's face it, dentistry as an industry, we talk about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry because there's too many dinosaurs out there. But start burying the dinosaurs in your office during this time, right?
Well, I would think if you hadn't done this already, and this is a big theme of really everything you've done to get your practice to where it's gotten to, is you'd identify the biggest time sucks in the practice, prioritize them, and then start figuring out ways to eliminate or at least massively reduce them. And you and I have talked about this in the past, but that you're always looking to create that one more efficiency that, it saves you 10 seconds with every patient. Well, times 10,000 patients, that adds up to a ton of time over the course of your career. And so you're always looking for those little things. And so this is that time for you to be able to evaluate what are the time sucks that you can create new positive flow for in your practice.
Yeah, no, you're right. And let me detail out that philosophically, because I think it's important.
Yep.
It's not just about the 10 seconds.
Yep.
The thing that I love about dentistry, the primary thing that I love about dentistry, is when done right, everybody wins.
Yes.
Patients win, the team wins, the practice wins, I win. Everybody wins.
Yep.
Right? When done right. When you save 10 seconds off a procedure, that patient doesn't have to sit there anymore. They're happier.
Yep.
I believe if you are thoughtful about it and you're more efficient, you're actually elevating the quality of care, right? Because you're not just screwing around. You're going in with a plan, and I know exactly what I'm going to do, and that's higher quality. That's just plain and simple. And I don't think that's the way it's done in dentistry across the board. And that's what this podcast is about. It's elevating the patient's experience, the team's experience, while also benefiting the dentist, right? Yeah. And exactly, this is the time to do that. And what some of those ways, like when we talk about paperless forms, you're talking about taking the busiest person in your practice and then making them scan and shred things and manual labor that that can be automated by texting to people. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to do it any other way other than you were too busy to implement it.
Yeah.
Now you're not.
Right.
Do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yep.
It's not even excuses. Everybody in dentistry was so busy. It was going up and to the right for the last 100 years. We're all busy. It's like there's never enough time to get things done in dental practice. And for the last 100 years, it's been blowing up and going up and to the right. And then this happened and everything stopped like instantly. I went to the office on a Monday morning and everybody was looking at me going, well, why the hell are we here? There's a pandemic going on. I'm like, well, Friday, nobody would have said that we need to shut down. So let's shut down, I guess, now. And that was before it was mandated. But I mean, that was a light switch on and everything flowing to off. And I think a lot of dentists had that happen. And when that off switch happens, what are you doing for when it goes back on, that things start flowing in a more positive way, right?
Right. Well, and, in large part, all of you dentists are small business owners. And when, something like this happens, you can't sit on the sidelines. Your job is to keep working. You're still on the clock, whether you're getting paid or not. Every small business owner is. Whether they're getting paid or not, they're on the clock. So you've got to figure out ways to create those efficiencies to make up for this lost time. And this is your opportunity to do it.
So I'm working with a coach right now that I think frames exactly what you said very well. It was enlightening for me. She views executives or people who run businesses, which most dentists are.
Yep.
And if you're not, this still will be parts of your life that this will affect. That we think of like production as just like going in and doing work and doing work and doing work. But a lot of time, you have to think about it like a professional athlete or a performer, where it's not like the person that wins the Super Bowl, that's their job. Their job is the preparation so that when they're at the Super Bowl, they can make it happen.
Right.
90% of the work is done in the gym or in the performance and the practicing and the studying the lines for a performer, right? In dentistry, we don't have a lot of that where we actually do the preparation for our job.
Right.
And so it gets, that preparation piece gets missed completely. But now's the time to catch up.
Yep.
Because now's the time to study your lines, to lift the weights, to metaphorically, right, figuratively, to so that when you come back to your practice will be stronger, because the environment out there is going to be more brutal afterwards. It's not going to be like suddenly everybody's back and wanting to have 10 veneers once this is open. It's going to be more challenging. And it's those of us that are getting our house in order, automating things, so we can have less people who are more productive doing higher value things, are going to be, I think, the people that do the time to grow now are going to come out of this stronger. Yeah. But I think the opposite is going to be true of the people that don't.
Oh, I think so. I think the people that are sitting on the sidelines right now, I think that lends itself to a mentality where it would be difficult to be a successful small business owner if you weren't a dentist, if it wasn't a industry that was regulated in size and capability. And so when this all settles out, it's going to be a very different environment for a lot of people in both ways. I think some people will have to shutter their doors, and I think there's going to be a lot of people, as I hate to, glad hand our audience, but if you're listening to this podcast, it probably means because you are looking to be that leading edge dentist. And so I think the people that are listening to this podcast are going to be the ones that come out the other side of this and are even busier and more productive and creating a better experience for everyone, just like you always talk about, the dentist, the staff, and the patients. All of the above are going to have a much, much better experience on the other side of this, because you and your audience have had the time to be able to go, I can create this and make it a better experience for everyone.
Yeah. There's been this slow, steady trend to what's in the industry called consumerism, right? which we call the patient perspective, which means that kind of what we're doing on this, but this crisis has really compressed the timeline in that.
Yeah.
And so on the other side of this, consumerism is going to be a much bigger thing, which means the patient's perspective is more important than ever, which I hate to say it, man, but it means these days so you're even more important that you're on the podcast.
That's
it hurts
right.
me, man. It hurts me. The COVID crisis has made your perspective even more important.
It won't make my head any bigger. Oh, yes, it will.
And with that, I want to thank you and your big head for being here, sir. Thank you very much.
You got it, Bryan. Have a good one.